Welcome to UBC, first of all. I have a lot of pride for the time and experiences that I gained while at UBC. I think you should all be very proud of the quality of academic talent that you're joining with this community of folks here. So I'll start by a round of applause for yourselves and also for your experience at Jumpstart. So today, I'm going to be sharing what I've been able to take advantage of during my time as a student on campus. And the goal really is to inspire you and to give you a deeper understanding of how you can do the same on your own journey. Because there is a non-linear path that you're going to begin to understand is completely yours and is completely unique to you. And the sooner you're able to lean on your own inner strengths, your uniqueness, and what you're bringing to campus from your previous experiences, I'm confident that you'd be able to find success pretty rapidly. And so I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Rotimi. I was born on the Arabian Peninsula, so in the Sultanate of Oman. I moved to Nigeria at the age of 2, and that's where I completed most of my early childhood education and my secondary education. And while growing up in Nigeria, I had the opportunity to travel around the world. So I'd visit the UK, the US, Dubai, because I also have a pretty large family. And so coming to UBC in my first year, one of the things that I knew I was very excited for was the opportunity to connect with folks of different backgrounds, different life experiences, different learned experiences. And that is one of the core things that I took into my experience at UBC in first year. Your first year at UBC is a time for you to truly explore what it is that makes you tick. So if you're passionate about leadership, if you're passionate about music, if you're passionate about your academic experiences in commerce, first year is an opportunity for you to learn more about why those things interest you and to really explore your curiosity so you're able to build the foundation for success in your second year, in your third year, and in your fourth year, and if you stay longer, up until you graduate and find success in your career. And so for me, if I could share a little bit more context, in my final year of secondary school in Nigeria, I was the president of the student government, and so I knew that I had a passion for leadership. I knew that I thoroughly enjoyed connecting with student leaders, learning about the ways that students built community, and the ways that student accomplishments were highlighted. And so I learned about the UBC Student Leadership Conference, which is actually one of the largest student leadership conferences in North America. And that for me was an opportunity to volunteer. It was a one-day volunteer engagement, but I got to learn and meet so many inspiring folks. And so if I could share one thing that I think folks should really be tuned into, again, the quality of talent and the network of folks that you have access to during your time at UBC is absolutely second to none. And the sooner you're able to realize that and walk into your classrooms, walk into your extracurricular involvements, walk into residences and cafeterias on campus and be curious about the folks that you're going to meet, be curious about the experiences that they have which you don't have. Be curious about how your own lived experiences and your own backgrounds influence the way you're interacting with folks around you. The more you're going to be able to build the resilience, the emotional intelligence, and the communication skills that would not only help you succeed during your time on campus, but also when you begin to explore some of the work opportunities that have been shared here. Now, going into my second year, I felt like I had built a strong enough foundation, a strong enough awareness of the communities that I really wanted to expand my involvement in. So first year, volunteered for the UBC Student Leadership Conference, had an incredible time, and in my second year, I thought to myself, how can I expand my role of involvement? How can I expand my impact so that when I begin applying for co-op opportunities, when I begin applying for work-learn opportunities, I'm able to speak to the value that I've been able to deliver within my communities on campus. And so I sought out an opportunity as an associate volunteer coordinator. So I went from volunteering for one day to then recruiting and managing the volunteer experiences of hundreds of folks that were volunteering for the Student Leadership Conference. I went from volunteering for the calendar and selling tickets to only a couple of their events to really being a full-time brand ambassador for that organization. And so the key takeaway there is, while first year is an opportunity for you to get your feet wet and to really gain a deeper understanding of what communities are present, what you would like to be involved in, who you'd like to see, how you'd like to spend your time, really understand that your time at university is going to go quicker than you might expect. And so in your second year, I would encourage you to begin expanding your sphere of influence and expanding your impact and dialing into those areas where you feel like you're most able to demonstrate your strengths. And so second year, another incredible opportunity, another incredible experience, because I was now also learning how to share and translate the value of my experiences for other opportunities. Truthfully, I'm now reaching the halfway mark of what my degree is if it's a 4-year program. And so I'm thinking, okay, I've volunteered here, I've volunteered there, I've met a couple of folks. What do I want my career to look like now? What skills am I gaining what skills am I gaining, and how am I going to be sharing those experiences with potential employers? Whether that's in a work-learn program, whether that's in a co-op, whether it's in a volunteer opportunity. But one of the most important skills in your career is being able to effectively sell the experiences that you have. And so even as you're coming in first year, some of you might have been athletes prior. Some of you might have been in the student government. Begin to think about the value that those experiences have in this really large community of talent. Because no one is able to effectively share those experiences like you are. And that is a strength that I hope you're all able to uncover and really lean into during your time on campus. And so in my second year, I'm thinking to myself, okay, where would I like to work now? And the arts co-op program is one that stood out to me because I was in the Faculty of Arts. So I majored in economics, my minor was in commerce, and I was really fascinated at the fact that there were opportunities for me to take time away from classes. Not only because I didn't really enjoy my math classes, and the break from classes is always great, but because there also was an opportunity for me to level up in terms of understanding the skills required to succeed at work, and to succeed at work outside of UBC. And so the Arts Co-op program presented opportunities to join several organizations. And I mentioned traveling is something that I've absolutely loved doing prior to coming to UBC, and that's something that I wanted to do more of. And so there was an opportunity in Ottawa with the National Hockey League franchise, so any hockey fans would be familiar with the Ottawa Senators. And my very first co-op program was with the Ottawa Senators. And so 2 years into UBC, I decided to move to Ottawa for 4 months to work there. It's one of their coldest couple of months. And the experiences that I gained while working for the Ottawa Senators were absolutely invaluable, because it also enabled me with a different relationship that I had to my academic coursework. I began to think about which lessons I'd learned in the classroom and how I was able to translate those lessons into the professional experiences that I was gaining outside of UBC. And I'll be very honest, many times there isn't a direct translation between those experiences. So you're wondering, you might be, what's an economics student doing? And I was working in the group sales department at the Ottawa Senators. Frankly, I wasn't applying those econometric models at work. And so it's important that you're able to, again, build an appreciation for those two different skill sets and the different ways that you're able to apply them. And so, after my co-op with the Ottawa Senators, very early, I decided that I actually didn't want to do work related to my economics degree. Working in sales, I felt like I had the opportunity to really leverage my passion for relationship building, my passion for speaking to other people in a work setting, and that was incredibly exciting to me. So I thought, I don't want to deal with economics theories, I'd rather deal with people. And that was when I began gaining some level of clarity with the direction that I wanted to take my career in. And I thought it was sales at the time. And so I began exploring sales opportunities, and as I was thinking to myself, so I'm enjoying working in the sports industry, but might I be able to create an even bigger impact by working with businesses all around the world? And as you think about which industries might enable you to do that, one that came up for me was the technology industry. I thought to myself, I'm working with hockey fans in Ottawa. If I'm able to work for a company like IBM, if I'm able to work for a company like Google, like Apple, like Microsoft, I'm able to work on teams that are globally distributed and are really having an impact in the banking industry, the education industry, the retail industry, that are impacting the daily lives of folks in this room. From the apps you have, from the digital security of your banking platforms, to the laptops and the projectors. And that's also when I began to understand that my career journey, as much as I was ambitious and as much as I knew what I wanted to do at the time, there were going to be challenges as well. And so 4 months in Ottawa from September to December, I'll be honest, I wanted to spend the following 4 months from January to April not taking any classes and doing another internship. So I applied to roles at the Royal Bank of Canada. I was interviewing for one of their retail banking opportunities, which I didn't get. I applied to a role at IBM in January. I completed 4 rounds of interviews. I was really confident with my performance. And in April, I was told that I did not get the opportunity at IBM. And so as Nick shared, there's timelines that you want to be aware of so you're able to take advantage of opportunities when they're being shared. So if you're listening, you know that April is not the time you want to start applying for co-ops or internships. And so there I am, really confident about my experience and my performance during interviews, to be told that I'm not getting the opportunity and I have a couple of weeks in order to find another internship opportunity. And so I'm crying to my mom about how my career is over and I'm never gonna make it, and like, I'm just absolutely over it. But another key lesson in this moment is that failure is always an opportunity for you to redefine what you would like your path to look like. And so I mentioned I'd applied to RBC, I didn't get the internship, but I ensured that I was consistently following up with the recruiter. The role was supposed to start in January, and I would be transparent, the recruiter just did not respond to me. And so I followed up in January, and I'm like, hey, I know the role was supposed to start 2 weeks ago, so obviously I didn't get it, but how am I able to stand out in a future application for a role of this nature at RBC? How am I able to modify my resume and include language that resonates with the recruitment team at RBC? Is there anyone that you think would be valuable for me to connect with so I can learn how to speak the language that's going to get me past the initial phone screen with the recruiter? And I didn't receive any responses. Until April, though. So after crying to my mom a couple of weeks after, I got an email from a recruiter at RBC, the same one who I'd been pestering for months. And she said, "Hey, do you have time for a call?" And I'm like, "Of course I have time for a call. I need a job in 2 weeks." And she called me. Without going too deep into the story, she apologizes for the bad candidate experience, yada, yada, yada. But she mentioned that based on the way that I had handled the rejection, based on the way that I was consistent in following up with her, based on the way that I demonstrated how eager I was to be an employee of RBC, she was confident that I would be able to demonstrate those same skills while working at RBC. And so she said, "You know what, we actually don't need an interview because I interviewed you a couple of months ago. I have your notes. I'm going to forward your resume to the hiring team." And a couple of weeks later, I was granted the opportunity to complete my second internship at RBC. And so the reason I share that is because there is no way for you to understand where your opportunities are going to come from. The only thing that you are able to do, though, is remain in control of how much effort you are applying in order to achieve those goals. I shared that what I wanted to do was work in sales. I wanted to work in a role that I was able to build relationships with those around me. And the role at RBC was in Canadian banking operations. So I was working on setting up credit cards for their corporate clients. I was working on things I don't even remember, if I'm being honest. But it's also important, and what that experience taught me is that even within those moments of disappointment, even within those moments of feeling as though you're not in a space that you're aligned, it is still your responsibility to make of that experience what you would like to come out of it. And so an opportunity came up as a student partner. A student partner at RBC was going to put on professional development opportunities for their other interns, put on social opportunities for their interns, and that was more like what I wanted to do. And so I applied and I became a student partner. And that was one of the most rewarding experiences of my time with RBC. And it actually had nothing to do with the role that I was hired to do. And so it's important that wherever you find yourselves, on campus, off campus, doing research, volunteering, you are the one that is responsible for creating of that experience what you would like to gain from it. If you'd simply like to meet other folks, then meet other folks and be open-minded. If you'd like to network so you build your network for future opportunities, do that. And don't let go of what your initial goals are. And so again, I knew I wanted to work at IBM. And so towards the end of my internship with RBC, I began networking. I began reaching out to folks at IBM. The folks who'd interviewed me in the final round, about 4 or 5 months after I reached out saying, "Hey," very similar, "I know I didn't get the role, but these are some of the things I've been doing since we last spoke during our interview. These are some of the ways I've been able to increase my skill set, and this is how I think it could be valuable to your organization. I'm also curious, what did your past intern do? Why did you hire them and not me? And of course, I'm asking in a more diplomatic way, but you do want to understand what were the deciding factors that made you choose another candidate over myself. Because without that information, you're not going to be able to stand out in future rounds. Instead, you'd be just as unaware as the last time that you applied. And many times, your ability to demonstrate that commitment to securing a role, to securing an opportunity, to networking, that does not go unnoticed. And so one of the very first few people that I connected with on LinkedIn had a chat. He said to me, hey, I see your passion. I feel like you'd be a good fit at IBM. It's about November. And he says they're actually having a recruitment event in Toronto. And I'm a student, right? So I have midterms. I'm working part-time jobs. I'm not necessarily thinking about going to Toronto for a recruitment event, keeping in mind that I still might not necessarily get this role. But I decided to take the risk, and my very third and final internship was with IBM. And so as I share this story, I hope you're beginning to see and understand that there is no linearity. There is no certainty. But all that you have and all that you bring to UBC is your desire to do better, is your desire to learn, is your desire to get to some end state that you might not necessarily be able to describe so well right now. But your attitude, your eagerness, and your willingness to learn, the resilience that you develop when you make mistakes and when you experience challenges and failures, but you say to yourself, no, I still think I'm going to do X. I still think I'm going to be a researcher at NASA. I still think I'm going to be a future CEO of a development bank in Asia. Whatever the case may be, you need to be able to follow whatever that inner knowing is, because that is what is going to ensure that you're successful. And so I finally made it to IBM. Finally. After a year and a couple of months, I completed a 4-month internship. Again, I was confident in my performance. And as you'd find with many internship programs, these are pipelines, these are funnels for full-time opportunities. So IBM isn't hiring me because they think I'm good for an internship, it's because they think this is someone who, if properly trained and properly developed, can join IBM in a full-time capacity. Same thing with RBC, same thing with Ottawa Senators, and same thing with any employers that you're looking to join. And so it's the last week of the internship. I hop on a call with my manager. I'm awaiting an update on whether I'm going to be receiving a full-time offer, and I was told I'm not receiving a full-time offer. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm done playing. I didn't receive a full-time offer despite the amount of work that I put into the internship, despite the amount of effort that it took me to get into IBM in the first place. And now I'm like, okay, I was going into my very final semester. I was in Toronto at the time because it's the middle of the pandemic. So I have 4 months left of school. I need to secure a full-time opportunity for January because I graduated December of 2020, and I had 4 months to do it. While taking economics, which, by the way, I leaned so much on my friends and the in-person collaboration that came with that, and I now didn't have access to because I was not only in a different city, but all classes were virtual. All classes were online. Now, again, you are always in the driver's seat of your career. and I'm going to repeat that. There is never a moment throughout your undergraduate experiences on campus, throughout the experiences that you're securing and interested in securing off campus, there is never a moment that you are not the one in the driver's seat of your career. And so that is what led me to begin strategically applying to other technology companies, again within sales. And thankfully by this time, I'd worked with the Ottawa Senators, I'd worked with RBC, I'd worked with IBM. So that disappointment, I think, was really to teach me about the value of the experiences that I had. Because I never had an easier time interviewing to join other organizations. Whether it was in sales, whether it was in customer experience, whether it was in my ability to speak confidently and lead client presentations, I knew the value that I was bringing to any organization that I was going to join. And that came across during the interviews. And so prior to graduating, I got an offer from DocuSign, I got an offer from Dell, I got an offer from Salesforce. And for the first time, I actually felt, oh, like now I'm in the driver's seat of my career because I'm getting to choose which organization that I would like to join. And I had an incredible experience, but I'd say that only went about for the first 3 or 4 months. I was really excited about what I was learning. I was really excited about the team that I had the opportunity to join. But I started feeling burnt out. I was no longer excited about the impact that I had because, as I mentioned, I enjoyed connecting with people. And I enjoyed connecting with people not to sell them on what technology to use, but really being strategic in thinking about how to uncover talent that existed in the room. And so during my internship with IBM, if I could rewind a little bit, I took advantage of a committee opportunity. Because it was the middle of the pandemic, they kickstarted a program for interns to join different committees based on their interests. One was a campus recruitment committee. And so that gave me insight and a behind the scenes into how one of the largest technology companies in the world goes about recruiting top talent. How companies are building relationships with organizations like UBC and the folks who've spoken to you earlier so they can access talent like yourself. And that was very exciting for me because I began to get some insight into where I felt like I wanted to take my career and what I felt would be most rewarding for me. So fast forward, I'm at DocuSign, 4 months in. There was a similar opportunity on their diversity recruitment board. So I'm in a sales role, but there's an opportunity for me to do something else which might be a bit more rewarding. And so I did that. And as my experience within sales was diminishing and my confidence in my ability to succeed in a sales role was diminishing, I had to listen to myself, and I made the decision to resign from DocuSign 6 months in. Now, I had no opportunities lined up. As a matter of fact, I actually wanted to take the summer off because the pandemic was in full force. I just graduated. Because I graduated in December, I jumped into a full-time role in January, and I thought to myself, yeah, I could actually just take a break, even if for a summer. So I spent the summer traveling, doing what I love doing, and then in September, it's funny, today is September 1st, I was on my way back to Toronto from visiting my sister in Austin. And I thought to myself, okay, I probably should begin looking for another full-time role. Because I've graduated at this point, I need revenue. I need money. And so I made a post on LinkedIn. And if you had more time, I talk about personal branding and networking and all that fun stuff. But I made a post on LinkedIn and I shared that I was seeking out opportunities in recruitment. Okay, because while at DocuSign, I was on the diversity recruitment board and I loved it. While at IBM, it was a sales role, but I was on the campus recruitment committee and I loved it. While at RBC, I was in a banking operations role, but I worked as a student partner in which I was partnering with their talent acquisition teams. And so very organically, I had a light bulb moment of, I think what I actually would like to do is talent acquisition. I think what I actually would like to do is recruitment. I think what I would actually like to do is speak to individuals and empower them with the awareness that is required to succeed within their career. And after I made that post on LinkedIn, would you guess which company reached out to me? IBM. And one of the managers that I'd worked with in the campus recruitment committee said, hey, we have a new opening on our talent acquisition team in Toronto. I think you'd be a great fit. And I'm like, I'm not coming to you guys. Like, I'm not coming back. But obviously I went forward with the interview, and that's how I ended up in my most recent role as a talent acquisition partner at IBM. And so this is one of the most exciting opportunities that I was able to embark on, because not only was I leading full cycle recruitment for their developers and for their sales interns and for their strategy consultants, I was able to build partnerships with diversity organizations around Canada. I was able to speak to their business leaders to help them better understand the importance of having access to diverse talent. The importance of creating partnerships with diversity networks across the country, with universities across the country, so that folks in this room can join IBM. And that applies to any other organization that you might be interested in joining. And so after working in that role for 2 years, I very recently was impacted by their layoffs. So we've seen recruitment teams across the country, recruitment teams around the world get axed from organizations because organizations are seeking productivity gains and are leveraging artificial intelligence and are redefining what their workloads look like and where that work is being performed. And so I'm currently at a stage in my career where I've gained a lot of awareness around what I would like to do, around the impact that I would like to create. And I've never been more confident in the strength and the skills and the resources that I now possess, having gained multiple experiences during my time at UBC and during my time outside of UBC, to be able to do that effortlessly. And so if there's one thing that I could leave with the audience, it's that you, again, need to embrace the non-linearity of your path. Because you are definitely going to experience setbacks. You are definitely going to experience challenges and what might be called failures. But your ability to recover from those experiences, your ability to create of those experiences what you would like them to be, again, is yours. And so as you embark on your journey at UBC, trust in yourselves. Trust in the strength that you have gained already. Explore your curiosities and be open-minded. And take advantage of all UBC has to offer, because you're only here for a short time. And so with that, I'd open up the floor to some Q&A, and I'm excited to continue the conversation afterwards. Thank you.